message boxes. Now, if you use this messagebox.show method, it'll just show a little message box on the screen with this message, whatever, stored inside the double quotes. In this case, hello, and this was demonstrated in earlier chapters. So I have a simple program. It says click here for a message. When I do that, it'll display my message box. So let me just run it and see what it does. And there's my message box. I'm going to go back into the code for that button. See, here's my button 1 click event. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the fact that message boxes actually have 5 different parameters you can use. This one's just using 1, which is the message itself. The second parameter, which is optional to add, is a caption. So I'm going to add a caption. And this is what will appear in the title bar of the message box. So let me run my program again. And you'll see here's my message, hello, and here's my caption, welcome message. The third optional parameter is buttons. You may have noticed when it comes up, by default you get an OK button, but you can choose other ones if you want. And you will get a drop-down list box of these buttons that are available to you. Abort, retry, and ignore, that'll be 3 buttons. OK and cancel, retry and cancel. I'm going to choose this yes and no, which will just give me a yes and no button. So let's run it and see what happens. See, it changes my buttons here. They don't do anything yet. Okay, I'll talk more about that in a minute. You could put an icon. That's the 4th parameter, which is optional. Again, if you just type your comma here, you'll get a list of all the icons. Errors, exclamation points, a hand, information, a question mark, stop, warning. I'm going to choose the question one. And I'm going to run this again. And there's my icon that appears. And the final option that you have is to put in a default button. I have yes and no as my buttons. Which one will it default to? Which one will it give the focus to? So you'll see in my drop down I'm going to choose button 1. It doesn't really know that button 1 is a yes button. It just knows it's the first or leftmost button. So in my program I have button 1 and button 2. So now I'm going to run this again. And you'll notice that yes receives the focus. So that's my default button. Okay, now what do I do with that yes or no response that comes back to me? If it's yes, maybe I want to do one thing. If it's no, maybe I don't want to do anything. And so what happens when you have a messagebox.show is this method actually returns an integer. You don't have to use it, but if you want to use the buttons, you do. So you'll notice I had a integer declared up above I wasn't using. I'm going to use it now. So when this message box show comes back, it's actually going to return an integer value back. And this integer value that comes back out is going to help me determine what to do. And I'm going to use this in an if statement. I'm going to say if int result equals, and there's a list of different options that you have. If the user clicks the yes button, it returns windows.forms.dialogresult.yes. That's a whole big statement, but you can find this again in this section in the textbook. Okay, so I'm going to put in windows.forms.dialogresult. And I'll choose yes. That's my yes button. That means I clicked yes. I'll say, I'll put out another message box. So if they click yes, I'm going to say, here is another message. If they click no, nothing's going to happen. Oops, I'm missing my .show here. So let me run that. If I click yes, I get my message. If I click no, nothing happens.